Hey, we ain't got ties, he gon' ride. You my slime, young gun, I'm my prime. Hey, so I think I ain't telling you lies. When you come to business, I'm handling mine.
With fat, now I'm getting real slim. They not respectable men. They turn their back on their friends.
What's up, YouTube? This your boy Skinny. We back with another video. Today we'll be reacting to 6 new horror stories animated by Lamar Arts and Mr. Nightmare. And if you guys don't know who those two are they put horror films together, and they like base, I guess, real stuff that happened. But I don't know if it's some of this be true. But the animation make it seems kind of real, and they voice, I don't know, it's so crazy. I want you guys to see this. I'm so excited for you guys to see this. I hope you guys having a beautiful spring break, because I know I am. And welcome to A Family Productions. If you don't know why I say that, if you're new to this channel, the reason I say that is if you're watching this video, you clicked on this video, you are a family. You are a part of me. And we are a family, matter of fact. So without further ado, let's talk and let's get into this video, man.
I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently got a job at my old high school as a sort of computer intern in the school basement. The basement of the school is very messy and disorganized, but there is a small 3-person office that's actually very nice down there. It has 3 nice big desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat screen TV mounted on the wall, and oh so satisfying air conditioning, a luxury the students and teachers cannot enjoy in the school. And of course, all of the school servers and other computery stuff. I got the job because 3 of my old computer teachers flat out adored me. I could actually consider them as real friends, not just teacher figures. So they all helped tremendously in landing me this job.
No.
It's been great. Until something that happened a few weeks
Skinny
ago.
boy.
My 2 co-workers that shared the office with me, Dave and Gary, weren't in the office at the time. They were upstairs working on papers or whatever. I was eating my sandwich during my lunch break when I got a phone call from one of the women in the front office telling me the school was on lockdown and that somebody, possibly armed, had entered the school. There wasn't much that I could do other than turn off the lights because, surprisingly, as nice as this little office was, it didn't have an actual door to it, just a big opening, and the door to the whole basement didn't even have a working lock. For my own safety, I did turn off all the lights in the office and my computer screen. I kept my phone on the desk, texting both Gary and Dave, but they wouldn't respond. I sat down there in the dark, playing games on my phone for like 20 minutes, waiting for the call from up front to tell me to resume working. I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't hear what was going on upstairs from down here.
20
but
minutes.
I was not allowed to make any calls until I was informed that the lockdown was over.
You crazy?
Then the noisy basement door opened. As the creaking echoed across the basement and into my office, I sat up from my seat, wondering if I should call out Gary or Dave. I was eager to get some info from them. Someone then came running down the stairs, and their footsteps were approaching my office. I pushed away my chair and crawled under my desk. Somebody entered the office, but did not turn on the lights. There was just silence. I can't even describe the fear I was experiencing. I felt like if I made one sudden noise, I'd be a dead man. Suddenly, my phone dinged as I got a text message.
Fear. I'm kind of scared.
I felt my entire world shrivel up and die at that one moment as I clenched my teeth in fear. Footsteps suddenly moved closer to me until I finally dove out from under the desk in capitulation, begging whoever it was not to kill me. And just then, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up. It was some guy in a red plaid button-up, jeans, and a reddish-black cap. He told me, "It's okay, I'm just down here hiding with you." "What's going on up there?" I whispered to him. He kind of ignored my question and asked me if there's an exit down here. I told him, "Yeah, around that way." Before he could do anything else, I asked him, "Who are you?" There was a brief moment of silence. Before he started explaining, he was coming in to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. After his explanation, I checked my phone and saw the text I received was from Dave. It said, "Dude, this is fucking crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to reread that text out loud to the man, until I realized. I looked up, and felt my stomach sink. The man seemed to catch on to my suspicious stare. Panicking, all I could think to do was to run for the upstairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement, and I could hear the bullet ricochet off something metal in the darkness. But thank God the bullet missed me, and I made it upstairs. Fortunately, police were waiting at all exits, including the basement exit, and caught the man the second he opened the door.
Okay.
More good news. Our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later determined that the man and Mr. Buckley had some beef for whatever reason, but that was never revealed. All we know is that Mr. Buckley couldn't have done anything that would have warranted
See my
this
scan
kind of
card and
reaction.
stuff, man. It's done.
And I know that the sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.
See, I don't know if this stuff be real or not. Y'all seen that?
It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period,
Oh, then
meaning
let
the
me
week
put
was
it in
almost
there.
over and spring break would finally be upon us. So everybody
Alright,
was
second
getting
story,
antsy
guys,
in
here we
their
go.
seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of class just decided to start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers this was not a drill and to go into lockdown.
Look at my man in the
I
back.
actually got the chills, and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid-back teacher too seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must
Man,
be
RIP to them
serious.
kids in Florida, man.
A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually started
That's smart, though.
crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you." It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers
I
to
play
our
dead.
classroom door. And that's when one of the crying girls screamed no. The banging on the door only grew worse as the man started screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in the class were crying out loud now. It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door. But eventually, he finally continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person, until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally
Man, this is
unstable
kinda
person
scary, man. I
entered
don't know if
the
I can
building
finish
and
6
assaulted the
stores.
woman sitting at the front desk,
I
causing
promise
her
I'm
to
scared. That's
flee
why I
the
took my
building
glasses on.
screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now
Or
this
am
was
I?
before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift
kidding?
found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum. The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was gone. My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found,
He was gone.
but I like to think that right now, he's being given the proper help that he needs.
Alright. A Christmas Eve horror story. Story 3, man, I don't know. Story 1 was a scary one, though.
Last year on Christmas Eve, I was working late. I'm 23.
Wait.
I work in New York City and
What
commute
happened
home
to the
every day
girl?
on the train.
That was screaming on
Since
the
I'm one of the
That was
younger
screaming
ones
on
in
the
the
door.
office, I got stuck with one of the worst shifts, so I wasn't able to get home until 5 o'clock. My family had already left a whole hour earlier to go to my cousin's house, so I had to drive alone. After having a quick snack before the half-hour drive, I got back in my car and put my cousin's address into my phone. Halfway through the drive, it started
Cold world,
snowing.
man.
I got to my cousin's house around 6 o'clock. It was snowing heavily by this point, and I just made it in time to catch everyone starting dinner. I brought all of my gifts inside and cheerfully said hey to everyone. I stayed until around 11 o'clock. The rest of my family left a little sooner. I stayed an extra half hour or so just to hang out before leaving myself. By the time I was leaving, the ground had accumulated at least 2 feet of snow, and it wasn't even done snowing. The drive home was nightmarish. The roads were hardly
Put these
even
back
plowed,
on.
and I
Like
had
it's
to drive
scary, I'm
under
taking
20
them off.
miles per hour on most roads. The roads were completely dead at this point though, most likely because everyone was smart enough to go home before the snow accumulated. Eventually I turned onto a main road that I'm sure would usually be bustling, but at 11:15 on Christmas Eve night, there wasn't a single car or a single light from a store. It was a ghost town. But then I did notice the flashing taillights of one car. It was parked on the side of the road, and the smoke seeping out from its exhaust with the taillights giving it a red tint. As I got closer, I realized there was somebody next to the car waving their hand in the air. I assumed something was wrong and they needed help. So, me being the good Samaritan I am, I pulled up behind the car. When I opened my door, the guy approached me immediately, barely even giving me time to step out. He was an average-sized man, probably
How you
5
spell
to 10,
set up on
180
Christmas
pounds.
Eve?
He spoke in a very demanding voice, asking me if I know anything about fixing an engine. I told him I didn't know much about cars. The guy responded very quickly to everything I said. He told me it's fine. He went inside of his car for a second, popped open his trunk, came back out and told me to just wait by the trunk for a second. I had no idea what he wanted me to do. I was really confused. He walked over to the front of his car, and I heard him open the hood. I couldn't see anything he was doing since the trunk was blocking my view, and the loud wind of the snowstorm overpowered any small noises he might have been making. I put my hand on the back of the car and leaned my body in anticipation, when suddenly I heard 3 or 4 quick and aggressive footsteps in the snow behind me before I was pushed into the trunk. The man tried to close the trunk on me, but I kicked my feet up in resistance and held it up. I was able to overpower him and kick the trunk open completely. As I took advantage of the few seconds I had to get out of the trunk, I took out my keys. He tried to grab me now, and I dug my house key right into his neck. He fell to his knees, and his scream echoed down the deserted street. I was in my car and halfway down the road before he could even get up from his knees. A little further down, I called 911 and reported the guy. I came back in 10 minutes to find blue and red lights illuminating the windows of the deserted stores. The police held him until the ambulance arrived for him. I watched the whole thing, and nothing ever felt better in my life. I got home safely half an hour later and told my family everything. I was still very shaken that Christmas, and this remains possibly the most horrific thing I've ever experienced.
Store for you guys. A
In
dump
the year
store horror store.
2009,
I
I
might.
was spending a weekend with my uncle on his ranch
Yeah, I
when
might
my
end this
parents
one
were
right
renovating
back.
the
I'm
new
sorry.
house we had just bought. It was my second night there,
To
a
be honest, I'm
Saturday,
scared.
and it happened to be during one of the biggest thunderstorms of
These
the
glasses
year.
are dark.
I'd
so
say there
that's-
were at least 3 crashes of thunder
real.
and lightning per minute.
Right.
And we were in the heart of the storm because the thunder would crash not even a second
So
after
imagine
the
how I'm
lightning
feeling.
would. I always enjoyed listening to storms while laying in bed. So I stayed up a little later watching TV, just enjoying the ambiance. After the movie I was watching finally ended, I turned off the TV and tried to fall asleep. As I heard the lightning strike from outside, I could have sworn I heard some kind of metallic thud coming from outside at the same time. I didn't pay it too much mind. 20 seconds later, I could have sworn I heard it again. A very distinct metallic thud coming from outside to match the timing of the lightning. I really don't mean to make this sound like a cliche horror story, but my uncle really is a kind of creepy guy, and I was never close with him even remotely. So for that reason, I didn't feel right going to wake him up. I just tried to forget about it. Now I was getting concerned. What the hell could that be? After the
It went
third
close
time, I
one
finally got
remotely,
out of
huh?
bed and walked over to the window of the guest bedroom. The water pouring down on the window made it extra hard to see what was out there in the dark fields. A flash of lightning momentarily lit up the property, but I couldn't see anything.
I'd be scared to even get up.
However, once
honestly.
again, the sound of a metal hit accompanied it. The sound was so close now, it sounded like it was coming from the left of the window at a blind spot. I was going to do something I
I
knew
just
my
tell
uncle
my
wouldn't be
uncle,
happy about.
I guess.
It would be a bit messy, but I
Tell
was
by
going to
his
open the
point of
window
view.
and peer
Alright,
outside to
I'll
see if I
stick
could
it
see what the sound was. I unhooked the window lock and slid it up, and immediately the wind of the storm blew drops of rain into the room and onto me. I stuck my head out the window and looked to the left, and at that very moment, lightning lit up the property once again, and I could see a person dressed in all black crouched down by the outside basement door with his hand raised in the air. And before the sky went dark, I caught the briefest glimpse of what the sound was coming from. The person was bashing at the basement door lock. I pulled my head in and quietly shut the window, making sure to lock it. I was in a panic. I feared he might have seen or heard me. I ran back to bed and pretended to be asleep, facing away from the window. Lightning crashed once again, but this time there was no metallic thud. My heart must have dropped as I
Why?
realized
Just go
this.
tell your uncle.
I just stayed put in bed for the longest time, hoping whoever was out there would
Yeah,
go
he's
away.
like,
After maybe 3 more lightning crashes without any thuds accompanying them, I thought it would be
either
safe
he in
to
the
go tell
house
my uncle.
or he see.
I turned to face the window and screamed. There was a figure, clear as day, standing at the window, looking in at me. I screamed as loud as I could and ran straight to my uncle's room. He went outside with his hunting rifle with nothing on but his pajamas, not even socks. He ran around the entire property yelling like a madman, but didn't find anyone. The next morning, we were able to better see the marks on the basement door lock. It was almost bashed open. Maybe 3 or 4 more good hits would have done it, according to my uncle. He was proud of me for picking up on it. Luckily, I was out of there that same day. My uncle hasn't told us of any incidents since, so I think he's been okay. Not that we talked to him much at all. I'm grateful I stayed up a little later that night watching that movie, because I may have just stopped a robbery, or possibly much worse.
I don't know, you guys. That's gonna wrap it up for this one. Like honestly, to be honest, I'm really scared. Like, I don't even want to go to sleep tonight. Like, I know y'all was like, it's not that scared, but honestly, it's kind of scared. Like, and plus I had the headphones in, so like my mind makes me feel there. Like I'm there. I don't know, you guys. Y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all like about this video. Let's get this video at least to 100 likes if you like this video. Subscribe. And family, I'll see you guys next time.